Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy, and governance. My name is Suleiman. Welcome back. This is Daily Politics on Trust TV, and we're discussing the outcome of PDP's presidential primaries, which held at the weekend. So let me begin with you, Mali Ahmed. What does it mean, to have the former vice president emerge as the PDP's presidential flag bearer? What does it mean for the party, in preparation to the 2023 general elections?
It means that the PDP will come back to power. Okay. It means that the PDP will win the 2023 presidential election and several other positions that will come after that one. Because if you look at the previous election, Atiku Abubakar won the election, but it was manipulated. He went to court, and the ruling party APC has control over the judiciary, and we know what happened during the elections. So he was overruled in the court.
The idea that PDP won the 2019 election and that the APC rigged the election, this idea is so closely held among PDP faithfuls. But what most Nigerians know is that there was an election, and you have INEC, whose performance in conducting elections since 2011 at the very least has been improving, and so on. And but APC were declared a winner of the election.
The declaration doesn't mean it was...
the PDP not living in a different or separate reality when they still keep going back to 2019 that you won in 2019?
The vote from Katsina were rigged, massively rigged. The vote from Yobe, Borno, and two other states. Because what we had was, we looked at the server of the INEC. Anyway, we are not here to debate about whether the main thing, the only reason why I was referring to the 2019 election was to prove a point that this is electable candidates, someone that is not just being embraced by Nigerians, someone that is beloved by Nigerians since 2019. Even as at then, and he was given more than 11 million votes as declared by the INEC. 11 million votes. And if you look at the gap, not up to around 3 million difference between him and Buhari as a sitting president. And that sitting president like that of Buhari, and someone coming close like that. So, he's someone who is embraced and beloved by all. And what makes him different is that his coverage is not only regional, it's national. When you look at Buhari, he's largely liked in the north, and very few, because of other reasons, in the southwest. But Atiku is loved by all. If you look at the south, east, west, north, everywhere, he's beloved by everyone. So I think having him as a candidate is a wise decision. The delegates knew that they need to get their party back to power, because if PDP is not on power, those delegates will not get close to the power. And the best thing to do is to present a candidate that could win that position for them, so that they can also win alongside that. So they knew that this is the winning candidate among all the contestants. If you pick Wike is not as national.
We will come to
analyze the individual.
Yes, to how but we wanted just the very, what does it mean? So, Dr. Kat, what does it mean to have the former vice president as your party's, and remember you're a party man, as your party's
it's a different thing. In 2019, we won the election. And then
the thing is,
the government, let me just finish. Allow me to talk.
Me, I cannot allow.
In 2019,
television
you can't, please, this is a national television.
Reality.
You are not here you don't want to change the history. Let me say.
The history
hold on, please. Okay. In 2019, we won the election, but the vice president ran away, and he wasn't here for us to pursue it. Okay. And we kind of, because of he wasn't here to lead the charge, we didn't prosecute that, our interrogations in courts. At that 2019, we were united. The PDP is not united today. As Governor Kwankwaso said, he pulled out a large chunk of our party to form an MPP, even though his delegates from Kano still performed at Ego Square. The other day, Governor Peter Obi also pulled down millions of his supporters. So our party is challenged. And that's because we refuse to zone. As I'm speaking to you, Governor Wike has not yet congratulated him, even though this morning, Elijah Atiku went to him and other people to try to make peace. So what I'm telling you is the 2019 is not the same. And about the numbers you called, when Atiku ran on ACN, he didn't have the number. The numbers are PDP numbers. When you're wrong with a party like PDP that's everywhere, people bring their own. And it works. It wasn't Atiku numbers, it was the PDP numbers, because when he ran on ACN, he didn't get such numbers. Absolutely. The PDP has a formidable vote-catching machines. We have about 119,000 polling booths, and PDP is spreading all those in up to 8,800 plus political wards in the 774 local government. So we have that spread. And the ACN didn't have that spread. So if he runs with a different party, he wouldn't get it. So we have had problems in the party about zoning, and that's where a lot of that implosion came. When my party refused to zone because we were foundationally founded upon zoning. And that has been at the very heart of the current divide we have today in the party.
Malamed, I think that's both of you are party members.
Yeah.
But clearly from how the two of you view the emergence of the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar as the presidential flag bearer of the party, it's clear that you have different views about it, that you come from different persuasions within the same political party. So for your side, as someone who is a special assistant to Atiku himself, you know, how do you view sentiments and feelings such as those expressed by Dr. Kath regarding zoning, regarding disunity, and so on and so forth in a general election?
Yeah. Before I talk about the zoning, when you talk about the numbers, belongs to who? It's just like a football team. You have big players like Messi, Ronaldo in your team, and you're playing a match. And you're losing the match. Perhaps you might think, oh, because you don't have the best players. And when you put forward the best players, you say because, you have the best players, you have the best squad. How many times you see the coaches put in the wrong place and losing the matches? So even PDP, despite the spread, the powers, and the representations the PDP have or has at the grassroots, it wouldn't work without the best candidate. And we knew the power of people like Atiku, being the flag bearer. He's a financier. He's someone who can put money on the table to fund the election. We knew how much he gave to delegates, to candidates, in that election. He supported the party, and everyone rallied behind him because he's a unifier. He can be followed by anyone in the party. There's some candidate that some people within the party could not follow them, but he's someone that everyone can come under his roof.
But what he is saying, what Dr. Kat is pointing at two issues that would germane to the PDP. That the demand for zoning, since the beginning of this campaign, this election cycle, the issue of zoning has been quite strong in the PDP. Until the 37-man committee headed by the governor of Benue State, Otom, decided that there is no need for zoning. You are throwing the presidential race open to every candidate. But that did not bury the issue of zoning. People still continue to talk about it. And even now, those sentiments. So how do you hope to deal with these issues as you move along?
The Atiku's emergence has neutralized that debate about zoning. Okay. Because he's everyone's candidate. He's not a northern candidate. He was voted by virtually every part of this country. He was voted by delegates from south, southeast, southwest, north. Everywhere. And he's someone that you cannot point and say, he's a northerner. He's from Adamano. He's everywhere. He even married from Lagos. His first wife is a Yoruba. He has wife from Igbo origin, Fulani, Hausa
Does that mean
origin.
the election has been done?
And he is someone that does not discriminate. So if you are afraid that you want this position to be zoned to your place because you want fairness, you don't want to be discriminated. He doesn't discriminate. And he's the unifier, the one that is trying to unify the country. And that's the only person that you need to give the chance to unify. When people are even talking about zoning, and there is no unity, people should be thinking, whoever is the leader should be the leader because there is fairness. And that's what he's trying to do, to unite the party. And that's why he's visiting all the candidates. Hey, it's not me.
In a way, the special assistant has a point that the idea of zoning has already been decided by a party committee. No, let me finish. By a party committee. And following that, an election was conducted on the basis of the decision of that party committee, and an outcome has emerged from that election. Doesn't that settle the zoning?
The party is back to 2015.
Okay.
These things are emotional things. Yes, we were brushed, and some people say compromise into allowing it to stay. Now, Kwankwaso has gone off with millions of his followers. Peter Obi has gone off with millions of his followers. And you think the party is still together? No, it's not. So that's why I'm telling you, these things that led us to where we are today, the PDP is more divided than it was in 2011. The APC are in power and can throw carrots to solve things.
But some people would say that division did not manifest in the party's primaries.
The party's primaries were money-based things. The primaries were money-based, mercantile thing. As you saw, a candidate bring 10,000, another one bring 15,000, another bring 5,000. They simply share money. And that's what you saw President Goodluck, Mr. Hayatuddin, and Peter Obi complained against. The monetization of our primary process makes it flawed. And that's why you see Atiku can run to Dubai for 2 years, 8 months, come back and use money to buy the delegates. So something is wrong in that. And you're talking about less than 1,000 people. So the emotions that led to the divisions in the party, how do you cure that going into election? This is the problem. I'm not here to chant party man. I'm a party man. I don't work for anybody. But I'm telling it to you the way it is. Today, my party has imploded. Whether you like it or not, Kwankwaso is there doing NMPP. And if you think he's nobody, you're just deceiving yourself. Peter Obi is there doing Labour Party. All those emotions take away from the initial support that our party have. How do we fix the house going forward? Not to chant is this, is that. It's not. Atiku doesn't have, in our own thoughts, the courage the leadership needed. You delete a tweet. What's that for?
So, no, we will come to all these issues. Some people would feel that, I want us to steer beyond the issue of division, because for most Nigerians, they saw primaries that were transparent, that were confidence boosting, in the party, particularly for us in the media as observers, But to go beyond that, the withdrawal of candidates, particularly Muhammad Ayatuddin, the withdrawal of
Dele Momodu,
the other. No. We come to and Tambuwal. So to what extent does that strengthen the candidacy of the eventual winner of that election?
Left alone, I think will have still won that election, because look at other candidates, the votes they got, very, very minor, very insignificant numbers. And Atiku has won the election with more than 150 something votes. So if you give Tambuwal how much this guy got, Saraki, maybe 70 votes, remove 70 out of that, you still have 140. Remove the 40 distributed among those other people. Atiku will have still won by more than 100 votes. And Atiku traveled abroad to study. He went there to do his master's, 2-year master's. He wasn't just in Dubai. And he came fully prepared. And that's why these people say, oh, he's really educated, he's well learned, and let's give him the chance. And that's why he is a candidate that even if other politicians will have gone out of the party, set up a new party or run on a different party, they will not have the followers they will have ordinarily have if they were in the PDP with Atiku Abubakar, because some of their followers know that this is a West vote. Voting for this candidate wouldn't have enough. Maybe if you are running an election and you got only Kano votes, you cannot become president. But you need everyone's vote. So people like that will think, this is a West vote, Western vote. Oh, I vote for other people, state assembly reps on this party because we are the only ones in the state. But national, when it comes to election, you can form your party, whatever symbol or logo you want to put that. But when it comes to presidential election, people will put their vote where they know that it matters. So for me, Atiku Abubakar can win this election and will win this election. And he's the one that will unify. Well, let's look beyond the candidacy Atiku. Let's look beyond the party. Let's look at it as a Nigeria, what it means to Nigeria and Nigerians. And we are at a crossroads where we feel so much emotions about each other. You know, we don't accept each other. We don't tolerate each other. We know the violence that's happening around the country. And do you know why we have insecurity? We have all these killings? Because we didn't embrace each other. We didn't accept each other. We look at ourselves as different people. But we are one people. We are united. And we need at this crossroad someone that will unite us to go to a unified cause.
Welcome back. This is Daily Politics on Trust TV, and we are discussing the APC presidential primaries that is presently ongoing. And I have with me one of the presidential aspirants in that process. He is, of course, as I said earlier, one-time deputy minority leader of the Senate, one former governor of Zamfara State, and of course, presidential aspirant under the All Progressive Congress. Yes. You're most welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
So since we've already taken that our usual break, we will not be taking a break again. We'll just continue with the discussion. So maybe let's start with the conclusion. The idea that the social media in the country, even mainstream media like Premium Times, everyone is reporting that the president met with the governors, and his meetings suggest that he is probably ready to indicate that he has a choice after all. As an aspirant, how do you feel about that?
Well, in politics, definitely, whether in developed countries or in developing country like Nigeria, every president or governor may wish to have somebody who will continue from where he stops, and who share same vision with him, who he believes can improve upon what is being implemented now, and therefore I'm sure Mr. President will also have his interest on who succeeds him, just like the governors. Every governor after his term for 8 years will want to see somebody succeeding him, and I'm sure it's not new also to have President Buhari thinking that this is the best person for this country today.
That's interesting. But what does it mean on a slate of candidates, of aspirants, that you have up to 23 people? Some have gone around the country. Some have at least said that they have visited all the 36 states in the country. They have spoken to all the state delegations and so on. And you are just 3 or 4 days away from the commencement of the primaries. What does it say?
You see, democracy is rule of law. It's about, it's governed by Constitution and Electoral Act. The Electoral Act of today has provided for consensus. Then it also provided for primaries, direct or indirect. So there is nothing wrong in Mr. President saying that, look, my party, let's sit down, let's see who is our consensus candidate. It's normal. Any one of us who has indicated interest to contest knows about these 3 scenarios, and anyone can happen. So we are prepared. We must prepare our mind to whatever comes. And in the end, it's God, gives power. So as both Muslims and Christians, there is no enemies among us. Everybody there is either a Muslim or Christian.
Absolutely.
We all believe that God alone gives power. And once Mr. President says, this is my candidate, you will know that that is the direction God wants us to go.
That's interesting. Some Nigerians listening to the program now and listening to you speak about this will probably be thinking, maybe you are the anointed the person, or you are the aspirant that the president is going to anoint. Should they have that expectation?
Mr. President has not come out to say this is my candidate. He has never told me and never told anybody. I just heard the governor of Nasarawa State talking with the politics today in China's television. And he said that he has asked them to go and look at the qualities of people among all of us that are contesting, who is more acceptable to the country, and advise him. In the end, if they could not come up with a candidate, then I'm sure he's also going to intervene and say, this is my own understanding. And I'm sure we're all loyal party members. If see somebody say, no, I must go to contest the election, it means he's contesting against the party. So I don't think anybody sensible enough can go out and say, no, I have to contest against the party.
Interesting. So if someone is asked as a presidential aspirant that are you willing to step down your ambition for someone else in the event that the party decides to have a consensus candidate, how is any aspirant expected to, like yourself, who has actually gone through the process?
Definitely, yes. I have told you, I am a loyal party member. Okay. Like I said earlier, power belongs to God. And once somebody said, the party said, this is my consensus candidate, I believe that is God's choice and I will support him.
Interesting. So, but some people have released statements in the media that, well, they also support that position, provided that the president's choice also rhymes with the choice of Nigerians, which has not been decided, because the only way to decide it is through the election, you know.
Yes, yes.
So, like, people are issuing threats, you know, and so on, that, okay, if he doesn't choose our man, then we're going to leave the party, or we're going to obstruct the system, or something. Do you have any feelings around that?
Well, I from the discussion and interaction I had with my colleagues who are really in this game, who have offered themselves to contest for presidency, I think I have not seen anybody who would say he must be the one. Like I said, whoever comes out to contest and participate in the election knows that only one person out of the many that have indicated interest will emerge. And it's either you emerge through consensus or you emerge by direct or indirect primaries. Whatever way, you should know that that is God's choice. So I don't see any person sensible enough who will say he's going to leave the party because he's not anointed or he's not identified to represent the party. I think if anybody does that, he's fooling himself, because he will go to another party. Will it be, if you know you have alternative, why do you stay in APC in the first place? So I'm sure everybody who is in that race should be a loyal party member and accept the wish and aspiration of the party, because the party is above all of us. We're all members of the party.
Thank you. So this brings us to the relationship between the ruling party and the PDP, the main opposition party. Over the past several weeks and months, if you observe, since this INEC published its election timetable, the PDP held a national convention to elect a new national working committee. And then they started selling forms for elective offices. They did their states and senatorial and other kinds of congresses, you know. And so all this process up to presidential primaries, they have been one step ahead of the ruling party, which most people would expect will actually be leading the process and driving the agenda of how things should be. Is that a strategy for the APC, or is it internal issues?
You have said it all. You know, APC is trying to be strategic. They are thinking ahead of PDP. And, well, as a ruling party, you can even see the number of contestant aspirants in the party. They are far, far above the PDP. So if we don't take our, way right, if we don't get our way right, the PDP will catch on it and so on. So I'm sure that not to be in a hurry, what the party is doing, I think is in the right direction. Because by the time they rush to say because we are the leader of the country, we are people in government, we should quickly lead the way so that other people follow, there could be mistake along the line.
Interesting. Yes. So based on what you said about strategy, the PDP have already shown their hand.
Yes.
The only hand they have until Nigerians will decide what will become of it. They have elected former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar as their presidential candidate. And although the Constitution says that the contest is open, everyone can be president, we know that in Nigeria, where the candidate comes from can matter in a presidential election. So the choice of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, does it have any impact or influence on how the APC responds in your own choice of candidate as well?
Of course, yes, because you see, in this country, the Constitution did not recognize anything called zoning.
Interesting.
But like you said, one has to look at the strengths in terms of voting strength, voting power of particular region or whatever it is. From 1999 to date, if you analyze the results of elections, you can see that from General Olusegun Obasanjo, most of the votes he got were from the northern part of Nigeria. And coming to also President Yar'Adua,
yes,
up to President Jonathan, and the current president, Muhammadu Buhari, almost most of his, not only the winning votes, even those who lost the election, the majority of votes that they got were from the north. And I'm sure if you are looking for election, you are sure interested, you are looking for the voters to vote for you, because the age we are now, manipulation is not easily possible. Therefore, I'm sure that APC will also go the same direction with the PDP. That is my own personal assessment, that if we want to win election, we have to look at the area where the PDP has gone to. If we take a southern candidate, I don't think that we will make it.
Interesting. So anyone watching this now can conclude that according to former governor of Zamfara State and former senator, former Senate leader, and presently presidential aspirant, the APC, or we can expect, Nigerians can expect a northern candidate from the APC.
That is my own personal advice and my personal assessment. Because you see, election is about number of people that register to vote. Absolutely. And the number of people that actually comes out to vote. Absolutely. In the last election, almost 40% of the votes, the winning vote of that we got in the election for the APC came from the Northwest alone. So I'm sure that APC will not make a mistake. And I believe that all of us in the APC want to win election, especially Mr. President. He will tell the party, he will direct and guide the party, not direct, guide the party on what to do so that we don't make mistake. Nobody is in politics to lose election. Everybody who is a member of a political party wants his party to acquire power. And so that because we are together, not only struggling to be members of the party, or I want to be senator, I want to be governor, or I want to be state assembly member. Every member of the party wants his party to be at the overall aim of the affair, to capture the presidential seat. So I'm sure that APC will not make any mistake. They will go for a winning candidate, and they will look at the zone and the area that the voters are willingly going to come and vote for us.
Welcome back. This is Daily Politics, and let's now get to the discussions proper. We'll be talking, just like I said, in respect to issues of political dynasties, monetization of the polity, as well as the 2023 elections. Just like I said, we have in the studio Malam Hamza Idris, the General Editor, Daily Trust, and Dr. Obinna Everim, who is a member of the APC and also a former House of Representatives aspirant. He is a fellow of the Mandela Washington Fellowship. Thank you for joining us, gentlemen.
It's a pleasure being here.
So let me begin with Dr. Obinna. The 2023 election, came with, a lot of difference, looking at party politics, looking at election processes and conduct, and of course, what is generally considered as one of the elections that may likely going to be the most expensive election so far in Nigeria's political history. We're beginning to see how, political parties' forms, nomination forms, are appearing in terms of, the amount from 40 million to 100 million naira, in some instances, like the APC, for instance. Why do you think this is happening at a time we're also battling with, indices of poverty, inflation, and so on?
Yes, so personally, I'm not a proponent of monetization of the politics or making politics too expensive. Ideally, leadership should be service, right? And when someone is coming to serve, the process should be made as easy as possible. So that's the ideal situation. But leadership in Nigeria, we need to get to that point. I don't think we're there where leadership is purely a selfless service to the public. And until we get to that point, we might continue seeing a process where the politics is monetized, it's made very expensive because it's not seen as service to the public. It's rather seen maybe as another venue for people to amass more power, amass wealth, which should be discouraged. So that's my view. It's not something I encourage. It's something that we must intentionally work towards reducing the cost of politics. In fact, I think that one of the things that the next National Assembly should be a law that puts a cap on how much people should spend during the election period. I think that when we get to that, we will then begin to see people not banking on their money and their bullion vans, rather on the choice of the people.
Right, okay, talking about the ideal situation, what leadership should be, a service to humanity, for instance, selfless service. Some will say we have witnessed some level of, that selfless service in the history, in our history as a nation, for instance. Looking back at, the First Republic, for instance, and subsequent Republic, you will find out that people who come out, to aspire for leadership positions are actually doing so in order to provide service, not, to look at what they would get in terms of monetary gains or whatever. We've seen the likes of late Sardona of blessed memory and the likes who died, without something to show for it as leaders. They were selfless and so on. At what point did we degenerate into this money politics?
When those vested with responsibility started stealing. And then when selfless service was relegated to the background, when the civil service was corrupted, and then when politics of ideology was jettisoned, and this started towards the second leg of the Second Republic. What am I trying to say? Before, people will come and knock at your door and then beg you to contest for election because they know they are calling you to serve, as Dr. rightly said. But as time goes on, people started, aspiring in order to enrich themselves. So they corrupted the process. It became an investment of sorts. You start calculating what you are spending right from the day you extended your mission or your vision or whatever to people around you. You start spending money on them. You keep recording it. And then at the end of the day, by the time you get to the office, you are left with nothing but to start thinking on how to recoup
your so-called investment.
Exactly. So the issue of delivering dividends of democracy is not even there. So it's so sad that we have reached this level in Nigeria that you just have to either borrow, look for an investor, or you steal for you to get any elected position now.
Okay, let's look at the process and the people, those that matter. Democratic contest, is based on your ability to market yourself, in terms of ideas, ideology, and what you stand for as a political party, for instance. But we're beginning to see, is it because of a decay in a value system? People who ordinarily should be asking for leadership, who should be asking for good governance, are no longer interested in that. What they're interested in is how much they're going to get, what value are they going to get, at the point of recruiting leaders, not necessarily what will happen after. How are you looking at this? What do you think is responsible for this shift in terms of our value orientation?
I think it's a circle. And that circle, it's difficult to say who was the lead, who started the circle. Is it the political elites or the people? Because I'll give you an example. When I was aspiring for House of Reps, I would go to, in my local community, I would tell them about the library I attracted, and they would say, you have to give us money. Because when we elect you, we won't see you, we'll be in Abuja, and you will just come here sparingly. They don't want to know what you've done. They want that immediate gratification. And then, the politician or the candidate finds himself in that position where he needs to do what he needs to do to win the election. And then when he wins the election, he then begins to amass wealth for the next election, and then the cycle continues. So I think that it's a problem of Nigerians, not just the political elite, even the people. We need an ethical reorientation. We need to reorient our mindset to shift from immediate gratification and then speak about things that matter. There are only few candidates in this electoral cycle who are actually speaking about, talking to the issues. What you hear is, I want to win this. What's your policy mandate? What's your policy goal with respect to healthcare? What do you want to do in terms of healthcare? What's your plan to ensure that you have affordable healthcare, quality healthcare that gets to all Nigerians? What do you have? What's your plan for education?
So we're not talking about issue-based, campaigns or issue-based engagement with the electorate.
Yes.
Rather, perhaps we're just looking at.
There are few. I must say there are candidates who have been fortunate to go on tour with some of the candidates, and they have actually spoken to the issues of insecurity, issues of education, issues of health, and even some cut-crossing issues like climate change, the move out away from fossil fuel, some of those things. So I think that the point is, and it's important for everyone watching, we need to speak to the issues, especially in this political season. It's easy for the people to be distracted, right? But I think that we need to intentionally get people back, the politicians back, to speak to issues. Let's not speak about the people, let's speak about the issues. And I think that there are candidates who are showing the example and others needs to follow. And we the people, right? We the people must consciously ask those questions. And I think also we need to also speak to, when we talk about like health or education, let's not talk about the infrastructure. We are quick to say buildings, right? Let's talk about the quality of the service,
policies, and so on and so forth. Okay, he talked about fundamental issues like the disconnect between leaders and the led. That substantially has, created this scenario. The electors feel that, okay, we're just seeing you today because you are here to seek our mandate. As soon as you get there, we'll no longer see you. So it is better we take our own now before you get there. And then, even knowing fully well, perhaps if they get there, it's about recouping their investment and so on. And again, he talked about the need to talk to the issues, speak to the issues, and so on. But today, we're speaking to those that matter. And who are those that matters in this respect? We're talking about delegates. We're talking about influential people in the political party, traditional institutions, and so on. When you find, aspirants moving around the country, they are speaking to these categories of people, not even the ordinary people who ultimately, cast their votes in the end. How are you looking at this, trajectory, and how, what impact will it make in terms of our leadership recruitment process?
Honestly, we have descended so low. Is the lowest mark that a country can descend, especially this election season. You can see the money, in dollars being spent by aspirants, from those looking for State House of Assembly, House of Representatives, Senate, and then the presidency, and then governorship. Every other person is just spending money without fear. And it's like a contest now for the highest bidder. And that is why you see delegates being bribed, because it's bribery. It's bribery, and the laws are clear. But it appears even our law enforcement agents are helpless. Now, the delegates see what is happening as their own moment. They are the brides now, and they feel if they didn't get what they should get now, it will be in 2027 when another election season comes. And that is why, as he rightly said, there is no, they don't have this spirit of deferred gratification, according to Obama. He cited deferred gratification. That is people, suppressing their urge for material gain, for ultimate gain. You insist on getting the right person who will go and deliver goods and services to the people.
Thank you very much for staying with us. It's Daily Politics, and we're beginning the conversation with Kenneth Eze at the moment, a public affairs analyst. Mr. Kenneth, you've been following, the trend, within these political parties and the happenings ahead of the election. Let's start with the major opposition, PDP. Yes, its national convention has come and gone. A flag bearer has emerged, but there are still challenges ahead. The party and the flag bearer have been working tirelessly to calm the nerves, so to speak. The fallout of the convention has left, some tongues wagging, so to speak. The closest rival, if you like, or the second runner-up, talking about governor of River State, Nyesom Wike, has made certain statements, alluding to the fact that he is not really happy with the outcome.
Exactly.
So efforts are being made to calm the nerves. several meetings, series of meetings between him and the flag bearer, series of meetings between the flag bearer and other contestants, and even the political party. What do you make up, or why do you think the party has to battle with, this after the convention?
Thank you. Like you said, I'll be following up, just like every other Nigerians, because politics should be a business of everyone. It shouldn't be the way some people see it, because this is the sphere of life that controls every other activities and everything, every sphere of life that you do. One policy can mar or make whatever you are. So we are keenly, not just interested, we are championing a very strong advocacy on voter education as has never been heard before in this country. We are bombarding every medium to make sure, and you're going to see it, I'll come back, God willing, you're going to see the turnout of election in this time. We are not necessarily about who wins, but we want the interest of Nigerians to reflect.
Well, that's a Herculean task, some will say, looking at the history, if you like, or the trajectory. The elections that have happened in 2015 and 2019 have left much to be desired. For the 2015, a lot of Nigerians felt their expectations and hopes are dashed. As for the 2019, yet there were also promises. But, well, Nigerians are the best judges when it comes to whether the ruling party has delivered or not. How are you finding it easy or difficult, to convince Nigerians in this respect? We're beginning to see some level of voter apathy with the off-season elections. So, and then the concern is that it might also carry or spill over to the national elections.
Okay, like I said, the narrative is about to be changed for this 2023 election, and I'll tell you the reason why. If you are to follow some few days ago, not more than 1 week, INEC, and let me commend INEC on that, they've been doing quarterly, monthly updates. Now, when you check what has happened, the recent data that was released, it was shocking. Because people have been saying this, that young people, they're only active on social media, they don't have PVC, they don't do. These days, you know what you want to now do? When they come to social media, they snap their PVC. They hold it and they post it. And they are telling politicians, we will send you home. The narrative is about to be changed because, prior to now, the people lost confidence in the system. They believe that what's the sense of going out to vote when your vote doesn't count and this doesn't happen. And also, they have not seen a candidate of their choice. It's beginning to dawn on Nigeria now. It seems there is a wave because there are people, when you're on social media, you see people saying that even if to a particular candidate, even if you decide to come out under any umbrella, any name, I don't mind whether you will win, but I will give you my vote. That has never been said before. Ordinarily before would have been when they just feel that this has been concluded, we are not going to be.
So what about,
and don't forget about a landmark shift that happened through the signing of Electoral Act. By God's grace, we were deeply involved in it. You saw how the politicians resisted it. We protested because we knew what that would do. We may not be there completely, but you are going to see an appreciable shift in the electoral system that will shock everybody, both in voter turnout and you will see people voting. It is not going to be, watch. You are going to see what will happen.
Right. Okay. Two things, perhaps, but let me get your understanding or your perspective on this. What brought about the level of confidence, or what motivated Nigerians this time around, to get involved or perhaps take interest in what is happening? You talked about the Electoral Act, the new Electoral Act.
That is number one, yes.
Again, there is the introduction of, now fully backed by the law, electronic means of voting.
All that is electoral. All that is included.
Yeah, I'm talking about specifically the processes.
Okay.
Before now, Nigerians are worried about, how the processes work out from the polling units,
accreditation,
the voting, and what have you.
Okay.
With the introduction of, electronic means,
transmission,
yes,
of results.
Does this, in a way, boost the confidence of the people?
In fact, that is what I was. That is not does it boost. In fact, that is what is giving Nigerians. You ask me. Number one is the signing of the Electoral Act. You will see how Nigerians came out for this, and they insisted that we need this, because we know that once that end is tightened, it will become very difficult for some people to maneuver before now. What was the precedence before now? The politician will leave you to finish your voting at the ward, at the polling unit. The moment they shift it from that place maybe to local government area, you just see the rising of votes. Suddenly, you see 110 votes, they add another 0. You just be see it's turned to 1 million. But now, that cannot happen again. By the availability and by this provision of transmission of results. So if we vote now in a polling unit, it will be counted before. It's very difficult to rig anything at the ward, at the polling unit, because I know you, everybody, we know each other. So when it's voted, it is counted, it is being tabulated and immediately transmitted electronically. You cannot change anything again. And once that happens, somebody in Abuja here can have access to that website, that database, and have it. That is number one. Number two is that Nigerians have seen it all. If not for God, for how strong God made this country, the level of what is happening in this country is transcend beyond this current administration. It's not, I'm not a party person.
It's not peculiar to the administration.
But we saw a very serious skyrocketed leap in this administration. The youths, we do no longer talk about unemployment because it's not longer a news. As we talk now, the university, our institution have been on strike. But yet, our politicians, what are they doing? Talking about primaries, talking about campaign, scheming, and do not do. These are reasons that has aggravated the interest.
To the back.
Thank you. And that's the problem our politicians have. They are finding it difficult to decipher between politics and governance.
That's right. Okay, coming back to our subject matter, we're talking about the fallout of the PDP convention.
Yeah.
And I ask you this question. Ideally, ordinarily, it should have been done and dusted, for instance, but it left, raises a lot of dust.
Dust, yeah.
Yeah. With those, from those that are not happy with the process, even though transparent, but some of the contestants felt that, it didn't go their way, perhaps for certain reasons. What do you make up with the outcome in the first place?
I watched it. I was awake all through. And we've had the run-up, second run-up, the run-up, that is the rival or the person that came next to the flag bearer now, His Excellency Governor of Rivers State, who openly expressed his dissatisfaction with the process. He was not,
but is it the process
in his word,
or the schemings that...
the schemings, the guidelines, it's the process that led. He pointed out how the guidelines was flouted. That's the process. He did not talk about the emergence of the article.
The flag bearer.
The flag bearer. But what happened in his words.
But what happened?
Now, that's what I wonder. In his words, because I'm quoting him.
We've seen voting taking place in an open manner.
His own mind, his own view is that he's a party person. I'm not a PDP member, so he knows their guideline. And up to date, why I am tempted to believe him is that no party official statements has refuted what he said. And what did he say? He said there are guidelines for any candidate to step down for another candidate in a convention. And they have it. And what is the guideline? If you remember and you recall vividly, all the contestants were given time. About 14 or 15
minutes there,
to come, some even took beyond 5 minutes, to come and give a manifesto, say whatever. It is during this process from the antecedents. That is when you have the time to now communicate to your crowd. We saw that before then. Mohammed Ayatuddin, one of the contestants, had withdrawn earlier.
Yeah.
Before that.
We've seen one also in the process of making his speech, also withdrew, one of the aspirants from the southeast.
Now, so that was the moment.
Habunwa, that's right.
Okay, Habunwa. Now, as they were calling them, that was the moment they were given the time. So, and none of them, to tell you the truth, I told you I was watching. I was expecting some person, because I know there's going to be issue of stepping down. It's rarely not to see that. There have been insinuations that some are even being sponsored by another person. Yeah. We saw several of them. Nobody stepped down. Tambuwa spoke, used his time, and left everybody. In wicked words, he now said, later, and aftermath thought, he now came back again. Then by some collusion and some movement, they now told him that he has something again to say. And his question is that we have a guideline. This man was given a time.
We're not party members. We don't know
I'm saying what he said, and nobody has refuted it.
Yeah, because I've also happened.
This is what he said.
Yeah, I've also happened to cover the APC convention. It was a similar scenario. You know, a number of aspirants stepped down before the commencement of voting. I don't know whether they have similar guidelines or so, but I think the fact that election did not start, you know, it is not mid-election or so. The commencement of voting
has not started.
It was before the commencement of voting. I don't know whether
that's why I say we are not party members.
Right. Okay.
The PDP will have refuted it if what he was saying is not in the guideline. So we may be tempted to believe him.
Okay. So what it means is that, you know, there is dust in the air, you know, and they, just like Wiki has said, it's no person that you know, usually hide his emotions.
His emotion. That is one thing about it.
Say it the way it is.
And I think
so. But then the winner of the election, so to speak, or the primary election, that's Atiku Abubakar, is also not losing sight to that. He has been consistently, you know, engaging, especially Wiki himself. And now there are also speculations that he might consider him as a running mate, even though there are other names that have been brandished, that are being put forward. The likes of Governor Okowa, recently they're talking about Ehedioha, and so on and so forth. How do you see this play out? You know, do you see Atiku, perhaps in his efforts to pacify or to bring closer Nyesom Wike, who has shown, you know, some level of performance? We're talking about almost 150 votes. It's not mean feats, you know, looking at the kind of contest. And then the Southeast also.
Good.
This is another region that's felt marginalized. I was interfacing with one of the aspirants talking about Mazi Ohabunwa. And he was saying that not just being marginalized, the Igbos now feel they've been completely ignored. So how do you see Atiku Abubakar and the party
navigating through this storm? For me, it's going to be a very daunting task. There have been so many projections, so many tabulations. I'm going to also say my view, but the thing is that it's not going to be easy. One thing we need to know is that Atiku would go for someone he will be comfortable to work with and not just to pacify. Because if he goes for, it's just like you getting married to a lady, a woman you do not actually love, but because of pressure. We know that that marriage is not going to last. And Nigeria do not need that.
That's right.
So I am very confident Atiku is going to go for whoever he will be at peace with, both politically and that he will feel secured. Not someone he will feel that this person
it's a threat,
may be a threat, or this person we may have loggerheads.